Hi there, my name's Roman Williams. I'm the city forester for Riverton, and just going to take a little bit of time today and go over some tree planting techniques. Today we're doing a tree replacement at the main park in Riverton City. I'm going to be planting a maple. I've come in here and I've made a hole that's shallow and wide. Rule of thumb is you want to go about 2 to 3 times as wide as the container or the root ball that you're putting in. A big misconception is tree roots like to go down. A lot of people will put those trees real nice and deep, thinking they're doing the tree a favor, when in actuality you're going to cause an issue with drainage. You're going to cause an issue with the roots being too deep. Roots naturally want to be in the first 12 inches of soil. That's where all the oxygen, nutrients, and water is found. So shallow and wide is a rule of thumb. Don't ever assume that the tree height or the tree depth at the pot is where you want to be when you plant your tree. These trees are constantly repotted over their lives until they're purchased, and eventually a little bit of dirt always gets up on top of that tree. If your tree looks like a telephone pole coming out of the ground, chances are it's too deep. That's probably the biggest mistake I see with tree plantings going in, is they're just too deep. So you're going to want to come in, and after you've removed the container, you've set it in your hole, you're going to kind of work around the soil a little bit, and you're going to pull that soil back until you find what you're looking for, which is this trunk flare. This is where it transitions from trunk to roots. And this is the sign that you're looking for as far as your depth. You want this trunk flare at or slightly above ground level, especially in poor draining soils. It's really important. So once you've identified the trunk flare, you can kind of take a look at your roots. So this guy has quite a bit of roots encircling it. This is a behavior that you find a lot in containerized trees, and it's not necessarily good, but at the same time, if you find roots that look like this, which are all just young and tender, kind of pull the tree out a little bit and examine. If you find big, thick, like pinky-sized and larger roots that are encircling that container, I just set that tree back and look for another one. That behavior is going to continue with the tree as the tree matures. It's just, even with this nice prepped hole, it's just going to continue that behavior, and they call it girdling root. It'll eventually, years down the road, just choke that tree out and it will fail. With these roots, a little bit of root pruning can be done. You can score with a razor or a knife down the side, and you can kind of work some of these roots out. Once you've done all that and you're happy with where your height is compared to the grade on your site, your root flares at or above ground level, you're then going to want to obviously make sure your tree's straight and that you're happy with it. Just taking a few steps back and kind of sighting it with a stationary object or a fence in the distance will give you a good idea about where you're sitting. Okay, I'm happy with the height. I'm happy with how this tree's setting in this hole. I'm going to backfill. Now it's up to you if you want to amend the soil. If you do choose to amend the soil, I would limit it at 20% new material going into existing material. One of the things you definitely don't want to do is fertilize the tree. A newly planted tree that's fertilized is just going to send a big rush of nitrogen up into the canopy and create leaf growth when your root system hasn't established to take care of that new canopy growth. And later in the summer you'll see dieback, and that's exactly what's going on. You just kind of given it a little too much love. I would definitely wait until the second season to start fertilizing if you choose. Okay, when you start to fill in the hole, make sure you put all the dirt in evenly around the tree. Just don't load it up on one side, or all your hard work on leveling and straightening that tree will be for nothing. And then I carefully as I'm backfilling, carefully but firmly kind of compact the soil around the root ball. All right, now that we've got the tree backfilled, we've got the mulch put back in. Since this was a replacement, you can always top dress it with mulch if it's a new tree. We're going to talk about the last couple steps, which would be staking and watering the tree in. Staking is kind of dependent on your situation. If you are planting a tree that's in a high traffic or high wind area, I would recommend it. So what I like to do is I like to stake really low. Now the reason for that is because one of the biggest things with staking a tree that can be negative for the tree is if you stake too high, you're actually supporting the tree so it doesn't have to support itself. Now we need to get this tree to take care of itself. So if I stake low, I'll have another one going this way. I kind of secure this tree, I keep the root ball in the ground, but yet I still allow for all the movement in the canopy, which will strengthen that tree. You don't ever want anything that's going to cut into the tree. Sometimes I see people use pieces of garden hose. Remember to take these off. You probably notice trees all over that have these on them for years. The tree will actually grow into that strap and be a real negative impact on that tree. So my rule of thumb is if I strap the tree down, I'll make a note of it, and that strap comes off after one season. The last and another important part is watering this tree in. Now what I would do is I would find the edge of that container or root ball and your backfill, and I would put your hose into that turf and turn your hose on pretty low, and I would let this entire hole fill with water. Not only will that help saturate this completely, but it will also help compact and take out air pockets that are left in the dirt and really kind of do the final packing of this dirt and securing this tree. After that, it's going to be really important the first couple years especially, where this tree establishes, to let it have the water that it needs. Now we don't want to at the same time drown this tree. So a good rule of thumb is if you have a mulch layer, and if you pull this bark back and your dirt is moist under the bark layer, you're probably good. So with that finishes our video today. I hope some of this answered some questions for you, and I really encourage you guys to go out, plant some trees, and celebrate Arbor Day.